and do all different kinds of things with them. So I was just playing with some today. I'll show you some of the things that I came up with. Other than using alphabet letters for text, I like to create designs with different letters and different styles and do different things. So I did a few fun things. This one was made with the letter S from a font. This one was made with the same letter S, only turned sideways. This one was made with the letter K from another font. This one was made with the bracket from Bell MT font. This one was made with a tilde from here to here, a tilde from another font, and this one was made from another font. So I thought I would just show you what I do to use one little idea like this little piece of a font. I think this was a dash. I make notes because I forget. So I do have some tutorials that you might want to look at in the Make the Cut Toots or MTC Toots group, and the MTC Toots group in Create a Doily from a Border. I show how to do this kind of design from a border using Make the Cut. And let me show you where that is. You go to MTC Toots and you go to Files and then go to Intermediate Lessons. That was Intermediate Lessons. Yeah, or 2. I think it was Basic Lessons. Let's go to Files, Basic Lessons. There are a few tutorials here that you can follow if you want something to print and follow step by step. How to make a doily from a border is the first one. That's one I use to do this type of round design out of a straight border. And how to make a title bar. That one is right here. And the other one is, there's another one on in the intermediate tutorials. I'm making a family frame. I wonder if I have that open. No. So if you want some tutorials with some ideas using some different shapes from fonts, you can go through some of these here. I think it was a family frame. So I thought what I'd do is show you the process that I go through to use an idea from a font. Let's say this idea and this little flower idea, to come up with a whole set of files that could be a kit, a coordinating kit for cards or scrapbooks or any project that you might be interested in using. So the first one that I'd like to show you is a simple brace. This one here is very simple. And I want to do a brace I look through all my different fonts to find a brace that would work for my project. And the font that I found that I like the best was called Bell MT. So I'm going to get that up for you to show you how I made this particular project. And you can use any one that you like. I just happen to like the brace. But you can change the size of your font to be big, or you can show more of the shapes, make them smaller by moving this slider underneath the window. And just scroll through the different letters to see what they look like. Now, I'm looking at the, you don't have to scroll through. If you know you like it, you could just type the symbol. But this is the brace that I want to use. So I can either double click it here and it shows up on my screen where my caret is, or I could click on the T and just type the brace on my keyboard and it will come in also. So there's two ways to get those in. You can then, once it's on your screen, you can resize it the way you want. Now, I think what I'll do is just move these over here. And it's very simple to make what we call a top note shape out of this particular character glyph from this font, just by doing some copy and pasting and rotate. So with this selected, I'm going to do a copy, edit copy, or Control C, and then I'm going to do a paste in place. So we've had some questions this week. If I use paste, I'll get a small shape. But if I use paste in place, I'll get exactly the same shape on top of this. And you know it's there because you can pull it aside. What I'm going to do is rotate this 90 degrees. Then I'm going to move it into position. And I'll type a 4 and a 3 to zoom in real close to make sure that I've got it aligned exactly the way I want it. I want this inner corner here, right here, to line up perfectly. I don't care about the rest because they're going to be welded. Then I'm going to type a 1 to back out again and maybe zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so I have half my shape. I'm going to select everything and copy, Control C, and paste in place, Control Shift V, and then I'm going to rotate again twice and move these into position. You know, Susan does that a little differently, but this works. Type 4 and 3 so I can zoom in and make sure I've got my everything lined up right in the corners. You can use the arrow keys just to fine-tune that. I'm going to check the other side. It looks good. So now I'm going to back out. Now that I have it the way I want, I'm just going to select all of these by dragging around them, drag my mouse around them, and I'm going to click on the weld button here to make them all one piece. It shouldn't take so long to weld. I think I have a lot of things turned on here. Once it's welded, then all of these pieces are just a single shape. So how do I get from here to here? What I want to do next is break this. I'm going to click on it. It's already selected. But I'm going to click on the break icon down here to separate the inside piece from the outside piece. And then I'm going to select that piece. I'm going to turn it into a lattice. To do that, I just click on this lattice icon at the bottom of the screen. Make sure that all three boxes are checked, and I can adjust the size of the lattice, the angle, and everything. I leave it pretty much at the default, although I may move some of these, the width. If you move the width, you can get a fatter lattice. You can get more of a gap or less of a gap. Whatever looks good to you, then click on Accept. Oops. Before you click on Accept, you have to apply it, so preview it. And after you preview it, if you like what you see, then you can click on Accept. So now I have all of this as lattice. Looks okay, so I'm going to click on Accept. And now to make it look like the end product, I'm going to select it all and join. Now this is what it'll look like when it's cut. So I like to put all of my shapes on a mat, and to do that I click on the shape, and maybe I'll resize this a little smaller, and click on Shadow, the shadow layer icon at the bottom of the screen. When I'm doing a shadow, I'm going to do a blackout for this one because I don't need a shadow of all the lattice. I just want a shadow for the outside. And maybe a 0.15 width. You can make it whatever size you want. That looks good. Blacked out, and I click on Accept. And when you do a shadow like this, it will automatically put the shadow layer on a different layer of the design. So I'm going to make the shadow layer a light color by I click on the color icon and I click the color that I want it to be. And then the original layer, I'll make it burgundy so you can see. So now I have a lattice with a shadow. If I would like to, I could put another, like on this one, I could weld another shape to it if I would like. I'm just going to stack these two. So I move them, or I'll do Control-Z, undo. I can take this, if I forgot to make another one before I welded, I can hold Control-Shift and drag to make a duplicate, and then I can black this out by using this blackout at the bottom of the screen, the black icon, and then just make this a little smaller. And then I can select all of this and just type S to stack that in the middle. So this is, if you want like a frame, this is more like a doily, but with, if you want it like a frame, again, you make sure it's all centered by selecting it all and typing S. You can click on the centerpiece, hold Shift, and click on the lattice part, and then weld. The weld is, again, on the bottom, or Control+W, and it'll just weld that solid piece inside of the lattice. So then you would have a frame. So that's how we got this particular one. If you didn't want the frame in there, you could just do a lattice like this and put it over the original. So any questions about that one?
They asked if you could put that basic shape into the gallery.
This design, the whole design?
I'm assuming that's what you meant. She just says, can Julie put this basic shape into the gallery? Lee, do you have any more?
So,
the bracket shape.
okay. So just the basic shape that I used. So I'll go over how I got that. I have Bell MT, and I double-clicked on the bracket and got that bracket right here. So that's the piece you want. I can send that to I can export it by going File, Export, Selection, or
yeah, selection to SV or selection as SVG to MTC Gallery.
So we'll call this a.
She said she wanted the four welded together.
Okay.
So I guess yeah.
Let me copy this, and I'm going to open a different project, and I'm going to Control-Shift-V to put it in here. It will make. I'll just repeat that again so you can see it. It's Control-Shift to get a duplicate, rotate it, and zoom in to make sure the corners are good. And this is where I use my keys. Select it all. Then I'm going to copy Control-C and rotate this one twice, and Control-Shift-V, and we'll move this into place. Zoom in, make sure it's all right in the right place. Sometimes it looks like it's right, but when you zoom in real close, you see that it's not quite exactly perfect. And then we'll zoom back out, and if it's the way we want it, we're going to Control-A to select all, and then weld. I guess it's because I'm on the webinar that it's taking so much time. And then I'll export this as a project. Export selection to project to MTC Gallery. Let's try that again. Export project to MTC Gallery. Is that what it's supposed to look like? We'll call this top note. Saving it to my desktop. Oh, there it is. So I'll type in top note. Frame from Bell MT font. Grace. category, we have frames. Things. And I made it, so we'll post it. So it should be in there, hopefully. Any other questions before I move on?
She asks, why didn't Julie weld the two pieces first before copying? I think it's just a matter of preference of...
I didn't weld them until they were all four together. But yeah, you can weld it first or you can wait. I usually wait until I have all four pieces in place, because sometimes when I zoom in, I see that they're a little off, and I want to make sure all are in place before I weld them.
Okay. Then the other two questions have to do with something that somebody sent me an email and something to do with Pop-Up Card Studio, so you can keep on going.
Okay. The next one I'll show you is this. This is a simple one using the letter S. I use the script from Christie font. So if I go to text and fonts, I can type in, I think I could type in C. Yeah, it'll take me to the C's. And in the Christie, these are some that I just picked randomly. Christie has some nice, interesting shapes. And right now I'm looking at my letters as shapes rather than text. So I click on the T and type in a capital S and accept. I get this S design. And you can make the S any size you want. What I did with this one was to add a circle from Basic Shapes. Double click on the circle. I typed in CI under Fine. That gives me all the circles. And make the circle any size that you want if you're going to make a frame. I was thinking this is kind of like a sun for a nice summer page. And you can make a circle the size you need it to be, and it could always be resized later. Click on the S, and hold down the Control key, and drag the S over the circle. Then you see while you're dragging that the cursor changes to a square, circle, and triangle. Then you can release the mouse and the Control key. And for this one, we'll turn off warp, and we'll just repeat the count. I think I want these spacing to be closer. So I can move this over. It's already over as far as it can go. So I'm going to maybe make the spacing this too close. So maybe an 0.5 minus 0.5, so that the letters are almost overlapping here would be good. And then to increase the number of letters you have, you click on the up arrow, and then you can adjust the spacing a little bit more so you can fill it in more. I think maybe I'll make it 6. There we go. This is just more or less, you can guess how you'd like it to be. And then the vertical alignment, you can change the distance above or below the circle. And depending on what you're looking for, you can adjust the vertical alignment how you want. I think that's kind of a nice sum there. When you get it the way you want it, you click on Accept. Now what I like to weld the paths, it's talking about, do I want the letters around the outside welded? And I'll say, yes, I would. So it's going to weld those letters together while the circle will still not be welded to it. And I have this design here. Now, if I wanted to, I could weld the circle to it as well. Let's make it a little bigger to black out the middle of that. It just depends on what you want. I selected all and type S to center it, and I'll keep a copy of that circle by holding Control-Shift, and I'm going to select all of this and weld it together. Unless you like that. I like that design in the center. You can just kind of do whatever you want with it. So it welded that. Now if I would like a hole in the middle, maybe for a saying, something about summer or summer fun, I'm going to grab that and type S to stack it, and then join, using the join icon at the bottom to put a circle in it. Now I could resize this whole thing, and then I could put a shadow around it just for interest. When I do a shadow, I like to make it big enough, but not too big. And you could use blackout or not. I'll not do the blackout this time so that I have a hole in the middle. And accept. And then I could change the colors again. I'll do this one in gold, and this one in yellow. And I have another design different from the original, so you can kind of do whatever you need for your project. You could add, again, you could add text in there if you wanted. You could make the hole bigger or smaller. But the idea is, for this demo, is I showed you that just using a letter, you can make a design. Now, we could do the same thing using the letter S, rotated on its side. So if I rotate it using the rotate 90 degrees, I can do the same thing by just, again, grabbing that circle, double click on it to add. Now on a big circle, now it's on its side, I'll hold the Control key, drag, release, and then I can maybe change this to a different number and just keep adding. You could change, just kind of get an idea of what number works for you. And when you like the effect, click on accept, and do you want to weld? You don't have to weld if you want to make adjustments. And then you have a different effect here. Same letter, but a whole different design. So this is the one made with the S on the side. This is one that I made with the letter K. I just started looking at the letters and thought, oh, that's an interesting K. It's still the same, the Christie font. And you just start playing with it. Right here, I turned it upside down, so you can use flip to get this idea right here. And what we're doing is using this as what we call an artistic motif, or an idea, and just repeating it over and over. So I use Control-Shift to drag another one off, then flip it over and line them up to the bottom by typing B, puts them on the same plane. Then I can use my arrow keys just to kind of move it over. And once I get one side, then I can copy, Control-C, and rotate, then Control-Shift-V to paste this back. And then if I want to overlap these, I could put them any way that I want. Once I have them kind of the way I want, then I can do another copy, Control-C, and rotate twice, Control-Shift-V to paste in place, and just kind of move them where I want them to be. Now you can select just the horizontal ones and type H. Oops, I don't want to do that. They weren't welded. And that's one reason why you might want to weld, so that when you're trying to align them as a unit, you can. Now with those two selected, I'm going to type H so they align horizontally. Now I'm going to weld the bottom two and the top two. Then select just the top and the bottom and type V to vertically align. So now it looks more like the shape, symmetrical shape, and I can select all of them to weld. On this one I just did a couple different shadows to make three different colors for just a kind of an interesting frame. So you can just click on the shadow and create a frame. And then what I did was take the second one and do a blackout on it.
Brian, your microphone's on.
So I'm going to
No, that wasn't me.
shadow this again in blackout. Maybe make it a little bigger. And just change the colors so we can see. So you get the idea on that, just made out of a letter K. So there's so much you can do with just letters. So we did that one already. This is another one that I made with a tilde. The tilde is next to the number 1 on your keyboard at the upper left, at least that's where it is on mine. And I used a tilde from, I think it was, let's go back to the bell, I think that was, or it might have been from the Chopin script. Let's look at Chopin's script. I love these elegant fonts here that have all kinds of twirls in them and swirls. Go down below the lowercase, I believe. That's where I found this other fancy thing. And there. There were 2 Chopin scripts. One of them had all the characters and one didn't. Oh, there it is. This is a tilde from Chopin's script. It's not the one I used in here, but I'm going to double click it just to keep it. And then there's the Edwardian script that I use. You can get all kinds of fonts that already have dingbats and nice decorative elements, but I just decided I was going to try just using a font instead of a dingbat font. So there's Edwardian script. And one I liked on this one was a little flower. I put notes because I can't remember from 1 minute to the next what I used. So I do recommend if you're playing with fonts that you go ahead and I think the asterisk would be, it's above the number 8. Yeah, that's it. So this little dealy bobber I used in one of them. And then the bell, I think, is the one that had the tilde bell. And I will click the T and type that key right next to my number 1 with a shift and accept. No, that's not the one. Raise. Oh, that's because it's not bell. Okay. So this is just a little different shape from that first top note design that I did. So to use it, to get kind of a different take on it, I did a copy and a paste, Control-Shift-V, and then I did a error. And you could do it this way to get this kind of shape on your top note or your frame, or I did it this way. And again, I'm going to select them both and type T to line them up on the top. And I'll weld them so that they're one piece. It'll be easier to line up. And then, again, copy, Control-Shift-V, paste, rotate, move it into place. Type 4 and 3, make sure I've got them lined up. And I don't. See, my vision's not very good, so that's why I always check. An arrow up till those inner corners meet right here. Then hold a shift and select both pieces. I'll zoom back out. And copy, Control-Shift-V, paste, and rotate. I'm going to weld it. No, I don't need to weld it. Copy, paste in place. Rotate twice. And I'll make sure I get this put right on the corner. Type 4 and 3 to zoom in. And make sure these are lined up with my arrow keys. Okay. Now I can, it looks right, so I can weld. So how did I get from this shape to this? This is a fun shape. This is the inside piece here. Then there's a lattice, and then there's a solid shape here. So I could do the, I'm going to copy this, just Control-Shift, drag. So I have the extra one here for the inside piece, and I'm just going to make it smaller and do a blackout. So that's how I got this little piece here. I'll get that out of the way. And then the outer piece is a shadow blackout. So I'll do a shadow. And I think I'll make it about a 0.25. Yeah, it looks right. Except so I have an outer shape here. I'm going to turn this to green so you can see my layers. This line, I'm going to, when I select the inside shape here, it's not broken yet. So while I work with the inside, I'm going to send that one to the top by clicking on the second, the smaller of the two green plus icons, and I'm going to hide that while I work with this one. So this one, I'm going to break this apart using the break icon at the bottom. And now I'm going to turn this, I'm going to hide this one, send it to its own layer, and hide it. I'm going to show this outside one. I'm going to turn this inside one here. Let me make sure I have the right ones. I want this inside one, I want to turn that into these rhinestone holes. So I'm going to click on the rhinestone tool at the bottom of the screen and select whatever size holes that I want and kind of place them where I want and preview them on the mat. And I can move this around. Maybe I want them a little more spaced. Or a little less spaced. And they're previewed on the mat. Every time you move it, you have to preview again. I'm kind of looking to see if I can get those holes lined up better at the top here. That's what I want, pretty much. And then hit accept. Now I could break those apart, just split them using split, so that I could maybe move them a little more centered. Sometimes it's easier to move with the mouse key. Not the mouse, but the arrow keys. And then once I have them where I want, then I can just select them all and join. Once I have that piece, then I can show my outside line there, which is this outside cutting line. Now this is the cutting line here. That would be a mat. I think I made them with the wrong one. Let's say I want to do a lattice with this one. I can line this up. I could take, I'm going to select them all and stack. type S. Just make sure they're all centered. And I'll hide that outside line. And I'll hide this one for now. I'm going to turn this one into a lattice using the lattice. Apply and preview. And accept. Now I can select this shape. And then join. Then I'm going to empty all these empty layers. I'm going to delete them by clicking on the trash can and show all these layers. Now if I do I make this a different color, this one a different color, and turn on the contrast, and you can see kind of, I even have a totally different look here than I had here. So you can do whatever you like to do. Use different spacing, different size lattice, solid, alternate. So this is just done with that one little shape from a font. So I go back here, and it was a tilde. And I'll move it up here so you can see it. Make it a little bigger. Really nice design, just made out of one glyph from a font. So any questions on that one?
Nope.
Now when you get tired of me, just say so.
No, someone just said the whole new design world just opened up for them. So thank you very much, Julie, is what that one comment was.
Okay. I have, I'd like to show you this one. This will be the last one I'll show you unless there are other questions. But I really enjoyed playing with this one. I use this character from the Chopin script font. I showed that to you over here. Let's see. I will find it again. It came in real skinny, and when I'm doing cutting designs, that's really too skinny for me because it will tend to tear. I mean, if I wanted a very super elegant wedding thing, I might use this, but I still might need to thicken it a little. So I'm going to show you how I thicken it, and maybe I'll I made all these different designs using just this shape and this shape. This one was from Chopin script ES, and this one is from Edwardian script. And I did all of these designs from the two different shapes. So I'm thinking if I close out some of these pages, I might not have so much problem with my computer being slow. Okay, so I'm going to go to type a C to get to the C, so I'm going to go to Chopin script. And look for that cute little shape. I think it was a tilde. I'm not sure. It just looked pretty. Yeah. There's quite a few nice little flourishes in this font. I think I'll slide this over so I can see more. Here it is. There's one that's this way and one that's this way. How about that? I'm going to double click on it to add it to my screen. And again, it's too thin to cut nicely for this kind of project. So I'm going to shadow it, put a very small shadow, probably a 0.02, just to thicken it a bit. Let me do a 5, 0.05. That's too much, and I don't want a blackout. I'll try 0.25. You get a preview here. I think that looks good. So I accept that. Then I'm going to move away the original because it's that thickened one. This is how you thicken a font. I'm going to Control Shift and drag, then mirror. Now you can overlap them. I think I overlapped them some, like this. So the first thing I was looking for was kind of a border that I could use. This will work. I want to make sure they're aligned to the bottom, so I'm going to type a B. Now they're aligned. Now I could go ahead and weld this, or I think what I will do first, I use Control Z to undo. I'm going to hold Control Shift and drag off a copy in case I need it for later. Now I'm going to weld. Then I can duplicate this, go Edit, Duplicate, and I probably don't need 6. Maybe 3 of them, and I want a -0.01, just barely overlapping. That looks good. Now, that looks fine. But I realized that I really like that flower. To add the flower to it, I could make it even more interesting. So I might want to just do this one and put the little flower in between. I'm going to type B to align to the bottom. The flower was in Edwardian script, so I type an E to get to my E's and see if I can see that flower. Oh yeah, it was the asterisk. So I'll just click on the T here and type Shift 8, and that gives me the flower. Now it's kind of like italics, and it's a little bit too thin again, so I'm going to use the shadow to thicken it. 0.025 should be good. Move away the original. And now I'm going to use these distortion handles here and just drag this center one to straighten it up so it's not so crooked. And I can rotate it a bit if I like it another direction. And I'm going to drag a copy of it. Control Shift and drag. So when I add it to my design, then I can resize it using the straight corner arrows till it's where I need it to be. And you're the artist, so you could use whatever shapes you like. Just create your own designs, position them the way you want. Now, if I like that, there was another idea I got, and that was to shadow it a little bigger, like maybe a 0.05, maybe even more. I think I'll do a 0.08, even a 0.1. And then join these two together. Then I could have kind of different style flower there, if you like that better. And I can just weld them together. And I'd like to flip it so that these are down and add a shadow to the whole thing with a blackout. So that'll give me 2 pieces here. I'll make one light and one dark for the contrast. And I'd like to save my little pieces in case I need them for later. I'll move them out of the way. Then I can just copy this whole thing, because when I do a top border, I often need a bottom border. It could be used for the sides. So Control-Shift-Drag and just flip. If I'm using them on the same page, then I can type L to align them to the left. No, that won't work. Undo. Type a V to horizontally align them all. And I can use the same idea here. I'm going to take just this piece here and show you how to do a doily from it. I probably should have select it, hold Control Shift and drag. That way I keep that one where it belongs and I have a whole extra one to play with. Again, I'm going to just get a circle, double click, and I'm going to wrap that border around this circle. Maybe a little bigger. So I'm going to click on the border, hold a Control key, drag over the circle. How cute. I'm going to use Warp and reduce my number here down to until it looks good. Oh, look at that. 1. I don't need any copies, I just need 1. It's very pretty. And that looks like it's positioned good, so I'm just going to click on, I'm going to make sure the extend is okay. What extend does is it overlaps the beginning and the end of the design a little bit. And click on accept, and I would like to weld it. So now I have this design all by itself. Oh, I got some ugly stuff right there. I think I way overlapped it. I'm going to undo. Control Z. Try it again. Hold the Control, drag, and I'm going to get the spacing I don't want it to extend so far. See the space here? I want that space just till it barely touches. And once it touches, I don't want it to overlap anymore. So I'm going to use my arrow key. That's better. Now I accept it, and yes, I'll weld it. I love the Control-Z undo button because I'm always using it. So we have this piece here. It can be used as is for a frame, or you can connect the circle to it. If I might make it a little smaller, just so it barely overlaps the design. Then I'll select both the circle and the design and type S to center them, and then I'll weld. Now I have a doily. If I want the doily to be a frame, again, I can just get another circle, double click, and drag that over so it's the size that I want it to be. We showed how to do a lot of these kind of things, but it's been a while, and we've got a lot of new people. But in the past webinars, we've done this kind of thing before. Now, if I weld this to the pink, right, join it, it's going to all turn black. Type S to center. And what I'll do is I will take this piece, send it to the top, and now I'm going to send it to the bottom. Move to the bottom. And whatever color is on top, the joined piece will be. So I'm going to join now, and I have a ring here. Now I can do a mat for it. And the mat can be small or big. That's kind of pretty. And it's blacked out. If I don't do a blackout, it looks like this. I think I like that. Accept. And then I can change the color over here of the shadow layer, and we'll change that to red. So you get the idea here. So we have a frame that now matches our border. And the other thing that I like to do when I do borders is I like to do a corner. So that's why I save this extra little piece here. I think I'll mirror it and flip it. And then again, edit copy, edit paste in place, rotate 90 degrees, and flip it. And mirror it. And this is where your creative juices come in. I don't know, I think I did it this way before. So you can do it however you like. It could be that way for a corner, or it could be Be like that. Then when you get it the way you like, then you can just weld it together. You can add a matte, shadow matte if you want. And I like to make the colors contrasting. Send it to its own layer. I think I got it. And send it to the top, then I can change its color. And type a S to stack. Oh, I know what I forgot. I forgot the flower. That's why it's not working. I'm going to undo a bunch. And I used my original again. And you can skew it as you like. I'll thicken it a little bit. Then I can add that to my corner. I like that better. It hides all those little loose ends. And you're the artist, so you can make it be however you want it to be. I'll just select it and weld it, and then make my shadow. Change the color. And I don't know where the inside piece went, so I'll send it to the top. Move to the top. Change it to red. Okay, so if you need 4 corners, you can just duplicate them and rotate them. You can go to Edit, Duplicate, and I'll do 4 of them. Then each one can be rotated a different way. My new fast computer's not so fast with this webinar. Okay, so you have the idea how to make corners, how to make a border, how to make a frame, all with the same little shapes.